this is such an incredible and moving film. Elizabeth and Daphne and Liza, you just understand these beautiful, multifaceted women. Where did this idea, Daphne, come from?
Well, Ben called me up one day and said he and Elizabeth, who I've known for decades, literally, from the Labyrinth Theater Company, we've always played together and never worked together. It's like, let's tell a story that centers around us, made up of stories that we have collected and experienced in our lives growing up and adjacent. And after like maybe 18 months, I think, to my astonishment, Ben and Elizabeth got the funds, the writing, they put it together, they created the story and presented it and got backing to get to the film, that would cast a majority of it has a majority of Labyrinth Theater Company members in it, and it wasn't going to get done unless these fellas were going to do it.
Elizabeth, were each of you always in mind to play the leads of this film?
Ben and I had worked together before. I had done a part in a film of his, and through the course of some time, he and I knew him, and we were friendly, but we established a friendship and had kept talking about ideas of what we can do. First, it was going to be theater. We were all in the same theater company. And the more we just ended up having just conversations that always pivoted to our personal life, we realized that we had there was a lot of common threads of like feelings and experiences, even though they were incredibly different. And then we decided it would be a film. And then Ben asked me who I would want to work with. And Daphne had a few years before mentioned and tried to pitch to someone Cherry Orchard for me, Liza, and Daphne to play. And so that was in the back of my mind. I gave Ben a very short list of people, and we were like, let's go to Daphne. And like, we didn't know whether or not they would want to. At that point, we didn't have a script, to be part of this process. And they agreed cautiously. And then we started this process of gathering stories individually. And Ben and I, prior to that, we came up with like a broad strokes of what would maybe happen. It shifted a bit. Uh, um, and then we gathered stories. And so it was so yes, we knew. And I could not have been happier to work with people that are like extraordinary artists, extraordinary women, and my soul sisters. So I was just like, that's just heaven.
And this, as I said, is an exceptional script that you and these ladies worked on. Did you allow them to flesh out their characters themselves, or did you have a say in back and forth maybe on how you wanted each character's background to be?
Ben.
It was a conversation. And Elizabeth and I had ideas, and there were other ideas, and we found things that worked for everyone. And sometimes that happened very quickly and easily in sections of the film, and some of them we circled back many times to make sure everyone felt good about.
Mm-hmm.
The scene that I recall rewriting over and over and over was the scene in the diner. Um, and like to justify someone standing up and leaving, and like the emotional levels of that, and how and it there were lots of different versions of it. But yeah, it was I like to think highly collaborative. That was the goal when we set out to put this together.
And when we talked about each character down to their names, we drew from the energy of who Liza is. And, we gave a list of more than one name to Daphne. We like, it was, the vibe was based on a friend of mine, we leaned in on that in terms of like the Earth Mother, based on just her and her the way we drew. So it started with, adding that, and it just became complex because we know each other so well, and we were able to draw and have conversation after conversation and listen to, I mean, you have these people that you get to listen to if something didn't feel right in their character and go back and look at that.
And I easily have their voices in my head. I've
Yeah.
heard their voices for a very long time. So, and if
Yeah.
it's not right, they'll fix it. But I feel like when I'm alone with myself, I can hear their voices very quickly.
Elizabeth, did you and Mackenzie spend much time together before filming started to sort of flesh out this on-screen bond you needed to develop?
None.
That's
No
actually
time. I had seen her in Mayor of Easttown, and she auditioned and she sent in a tape, and that we were interested in a couple of people, and I, thank goodness, did see that, and I was like, oh, this woman is nothing like this. She's extraordinary. Ben, you have to go just see the first scene. The scene in the first episode, you're gonna be like blown away. And she was very, very, very kept everything close to the vest. And I pushed for her, and she showed up, and she was also still very, and I just basically absorbed her. I was like, hi, I just immediately, not because I'm not a method, by any means necessary. And she made it so easy. She was so good and like just open to, you know, that character in a way, and had really, really great, right, conversations when she did talk about her.
And also, like, I was like there were takes where like on the same word, the same size tear would drop, and I was like, what the hell is
wow.
this is so this is superficial. I'm not an actor. But I was like, what's going on? Like, and she's like, people are like, how do you cry? And it's like, I'm just working really hard all the time not to cry. That's when I
Uh,
stopped. That's
She's
when I
just, we got really, really lucky. She's just extraordinary. And I'm glad that I knew that from seeing her in that other thing, and then seeing our audition tape. And then she ended up as a person being that as well.
well, Daphne, I love your relationship with your on-screen daughter as well. And my favorite moment is you're like, there's a phone charger in the car. Like every mother would say that to their kid. I didn't hear from you. Okay, but there's a phone charger in everyone's house. There's a phone charger in the car. You know that you need to be connecting it. And they have such an interesting relationship too. I feel like as a Latin mom, you would be more close with your daughter, whereas this one is sort of rebelling against being close with their family. Did you and Elizabeth talk about that as well, or did you have this idea for how Sarah Renee would be with her family?
Um, hmm. Well, like, uh, as a mother, teenagers and young adults are hella problematic. As someone who was once a daughter and a young adult, really struggling in New York. Yeah, just there's I don't, yeah, it's just real life, like the situation of being absolutely powerless. Um, and did we have conversations? I think that if there was an adjustment to be made, um, they let me know. But you know, Elizabeth as a first time filmmaker with her posse, in it, I think was very, very, very conscious of making sure we were comfortable in ways where in other spaces we would not be acknowledged or given time or any kind of like anything. It's just like do. Um, I think in this film, because of the community, there was extra care given to give us space, and energy, like soul energy to be these people. Hope that makes
And
sense.
every moment of this movie is just, I feel like, incredibly shot because you feel the emotion. The scene work, you feel it each person's emotions through the camera lens when you're watching them play out. Is there a particular scene you're proud of what came from paper to camera?
I'm still learning. I come from theater and I'm primarily a writer, so telling stories visually is new to me. But the only scene that I really had in my head and I felt like I was able to communicate and achieve a visual was kind of moving from uh Daphne's character with the candle to the light in the window to the light in the classroom and kind of like and I described what I wanted and they're like, oh well you need a handheld. And I was like, get us a handheld camera that day. And this kind of like floating through her class and seeing as a transition in time. That was something I was very proud of because it played that way in my head and then it felt like it played that way on the screen in a really satisfying way.
Elizabeth, what about you? Is there a particular moment of filming that maybe even you didn't even put in? Maybe the work that you saw one of your friends put into this film that is
I mean,
really
there were so many, you know, I knew what everyone was capable of. What just stuck out to me while you were asking that was when Liza's character, Ida, first finds her brother in that dark space. The mood of that room, like we were in, it wasn't even a real, we were working in another quiet and watching the nuance and trying to capture, like that took nuancing with Felix, and the camera and Liza, like that was a lot of nuancing and it was extraordinarily powerful with the lighting and how much space we had to work with because everything on the other side was just destroyed and not a real room. I was like destroying, like making it look more run down seconds before they were shooting. Every day that I wasn't acting, I was there by Ben, you know, doing anything and everything that needed to happen. I found that the quietness and the darkness and those real moments of when he gets up, when he shifts, all of that uh was all thought out and they were incredible. And I was just on the other side of this curtain, like wanting to come out of my skin.
Elizabeth, is there a message or an emotion you really hope lingers with people that watch Allswell in New York?
That's a great question. I hope that people are moved and they can see parts of themselves or people they love in any of these characters, and that it moves them to allow them to feel and to hope and to try to come, you know, to heal and to keep loving.